constantly struggles against time, water, and industrial change. Behind its eroding coastline and dense swamp forests lies a history of settlements that now exist only as names on old maps. Ghost towns here were not caused only by ordinary economic collapse, but also by saltwater intrusion, chemical industrial disasters, and shifting railroad routes. Some places have been completely swallowed by nature, while others still have a weakening heartbeat, with populations that continue to shrink. This video explores 15 locations in Louisiana, from places that have truly become remnants of history to towns now standing on the edge of extinction. Ruddock is not just an abandoned town, but a tragedy erased by a terrifying natural event. Located in the swamps of St. John the Baptist Parish, this town was once a busy cypress logging center thanks to its strategic location along the Illinois Central Railroad. In the early 1900s, life here was full of activity, but that prosperity ended brutally in September 1915 when a powerful Category 4 hurricane struck, bringing a storm surge 13 feet high that swept away the entire settlement without leaving a single building intact. Today, when driving across the long bridge between New Orleans and Hammond, we are actually passing over the mass grave of a town. There are no paved roads or wall remains visible from a distance. What remains are only concrete foundations slowly sinking beneath swamp water and covered in thick moss. Nature has fully taken this area back, turning a once powerful logging center into a silent swamp forest. A similar story also happened to Cameron. The difference is that it has not truly vanished. It stands as a modern ghost town. This area was once the heart of a dynamic coastal community, but its face changed completely after being hit by a series of devastating hurricanes, from Rita to Laura. The town's landscape is now dominated by empty concrete foundations and leaning power poles, the remains of homes and businesses swept away by water. Although it is still officially the seat of Cameron Parish, its population has dropped sharply to only around 100 residents. The loss of basic facilities like hospitals and shopping centers has forced many people to move to safer areas. Behind the silence of the surrounding swamps, Cameron remains a silent witness to both the resilience and vulnerability of life on the front line of extreme climate change. Moving away from the industrial buffer zone along the river, we head downstream. Accessible only by water, Pilot Town is a legendary outpost at the end of the Mississippi River Delta. For more than 100 years, this place was home to bar pilots, whose crucial job was to guide massive cargo ships through the dangerous silt-filled mouth of the river. Life in Pilot Town was highly unusual. Houses were built on tall wooden stilts to avoid river tides, and the only highway was a wooden boardwalk connecting one building to another above unstable swamp ground. Destruction began creeping in after Hurricane Katrina in 2005 devastated most of the raised infrastructure there. The school building, post office, and private homes now sit rotting under the harsh sun and corrosive salt air. Pilot Town now feels more like an abandoned historical laboratory, a floating ghost town slowly collapsing into the river that once gave it life. Meanwhile, Galveztown is clear proof that even the ambitions of a great empire could bend before Louisiana's harsh environment. Founded in 1778 by Spanish authorities at the meeting point of the Amit River and Bayou Manchac, the town was originally planned as a military defense post and trade center to block British influence. Early settlers from the Canary Islands arrived with high hopes, building barracks and homes in an area they believed would become a new inland metropolis. After the United States took control of the region, Galveztown's military urgency disappeared, and its residents began moving to safer places like Baton Rouge. Today, not a single wooden post remains. Galveztown is now only a silent archaeological site where swamp soil has buried the remains of an empire's failure deep underground. Long after the Spanish era ended, the pattern of displacement caused by the environment repeated itself in Mossville. Mossville's history is a story of resilience that eventually lost to industrial pollution. Located in Calcasieu Parish, Mossville was founded by free black residents and grew into a thriving community with strong farming and fishing traditions. The town's death reached its peak when the energy company Sasol carried out a massive expansion in the area around a decade ago. Through a large-scale relocation process, almost all Mossville residents eventually left their homeland behind. Today, the atmosphere here feels deeply unsettling. Asphalt roads, once filled with children, are now completely silent. Homes have been cleared from the land, and only old power poles remain, no longer carrying light. Mossville has become a modern ghost town, a victim of industrial growth that sacrificed a community for global interests. In Louisiana, ghost towns are not only created by economics, but also by real climate change, and Île de Jean-Charles is its most famous victim. This island in Terrebonne Parish has lost more than 98% of its land area since the 1950s because of erosion and rising sea levels. Its residents, mostly members of the Biloxi Chitimacha Choctaw tribe, are now often called America's first climate refugees. Although the government has built a new settlement on higher ground for island residents, leaving Île de Jean-Charles is an emotionally painful process. Many stilt houses on the island now stand empty, with boarded windows and walls slowly covered in sea moss. The old oak trees that were once lush now remain only as white dead trunks, killed by saltwater poisoning. The island is in its final breath, slowly but surely being swallowed by the Gulf of Mexico, leaving behind a long history that will sink beneath the water. Next, Port Hudson was once a highly important name on Louisiana's cotton trade and military strategy map. This port town had a loud and active golden age in the mid-19th century. During the Civil War, its location became extremely vital, leading to a 48-day siege, one of the longest battles in American history. After the conflict ended, the Mississippi River naturally changed its course, moving away from Port Hudson's bluff and cutting off direct access for large ships to reach its docks. Without the river as its economic lifeline, and with new railroad routes passing elsewhere, Port Hudson began losing its residents. Today, the area has become a quiet military history park. No shops or homes remain, only stone monuments and soldiers' graves stand there, preserving the memory of a town that died because the river abandoned it. A similar fate was experienced by this place. Laurel Valley Plantation in Thibodaux offers one of the most complete and haunting images of a ghost town. At its peak, This complex was a village alive with the activity of thousands of workers, complete with a blacksmith shop, a general store, and a sugar mill that never stopped running during harvest season. Although Laurel Valley is often used as a filming location because of its authentic architecture, not a single cabin is inhabited. The wood is beginning to rot, the tin roofs are rusting, and some buildings are starting to lean with age. The wide yards between the cabins are now covered only with tall wild grass, creating an atmosphere that feels deeply quiet and melancholy. Economic shifts are often voluntary, but in Taft, residents had no choice when giant factories began swallowing their front yards. Taft is a town that was literally consumed by Louisiana's massive chemical industrial corridor in St. Charles Parish. After World War II, this area became a magnet for huge petrochemical plants. One by one, industrial facilities rose around the settlement, creating an environment that was no longer healthy or safe for civilians. The emptying of Taft happened gradually as chemical companies began buying residents' properties to expand their factory zones. Today, Taft has lost its status as a real settlement. Only one iconic building remains, Our Lady of the Rosary Church. The view here is strange and sharply contrasting. A beautiful old church standing in the middle of giant pipes, smokestacks, and metal storage tanks. Some of the places before this have become tombstones for Louisiana's history, but the real horror lies in towns that are still alive today, yet show signs of a slow death. First is Ferriday, a town fighting hard against the shadow of its once glorious past as a center of world music. Once home to major names like Jerry Lee Lewis, this town was an energetic cultural meeting point in Concordia Parish. But that prosperity now feels like a very distant memory. Walking along its main street today, we see rows of storefronts with boarded-up windows and sidewalks beginning to crack, with no one repairing them. Ferriday's decline is clearly visible in the many historic buildings now abandoned and covered in wild plants. Although it is technically still inhabited, economic activity in the town has dropped sharply, causing many working-age residents to leave in search of opportunities elsewhere. The decline in Ferriday seems to echo southward, especially in Jeanerette. Known as the Sugar City, this town is a portrait of extreme dependence on one industrial commodity. For more than 100 years, its economy and identity were built on sugar mills that never seemed to stop running. But with factory automation and the closure of several major mills, its economic strength has slowly but steadily eroded. Jeanerette's physical condition now shows signs of a town being left behind. Crime is not uncommon, and many buildings in its original business district sit empty. Although sugarcane farming still continues, urban life inside the town feels increasingly quiet and sluggish. The steady population decline in recent census counts strengthens the idea that Jeanerette is moving toward ghost town status unless economic diversification arrives. Oil City is different. This town was born almost overnight after the discovery of major oil reserves in 1904. At its peak, it was one of the busiest places in the United States, filled with speculators, oil workers, and grand brick buildings built from black gold profits. But that glory is now only a shadow. As easily accessible oil reserves ran out, Oil City began losing its appeal and was abandoned by major companies. Walking through its streets today, we find many abandoned brick commercial buildings with collapsed roofs and broken windows. Although residents still live here, Oil City shows signs of a dying town. Its main stores have been closed for decades, and its infrastructure feels too large for a population that keeps shrinking. Meanwhile, Donaldsonville holds a title that is both unique and sad. A former capital now slowly decaying in the middle of its own history. The town has a large historic district with classic architecture that should be a source of pride, but in reality, many of those grand buildings are now badly damaged. Structures from the 19th century that once served as centers of government and trade are now often found with collapsed roofs and iron fences slowly eaten by rust, creating a feeling of ruined beauty on nearly every street corner. Life in Donaldsonville feels like a sharp contrast between its huge historical potential and its current stagnant economy. Many old stores downtown no longer operate, and the streets feel quiet even during the day. Moving north, we find another town that once had a kind of growth magic. It was once called the Magic City because of its incredibly fast growth through the lumber industry in the early 20th century. Founded as a company town by the Great Southern Lumber Company, Bogalusa had infrastructure that was very modern for its time, with thousands of worker homes built in an organized way. For decades, the paper mill there was the main source of life, supporting thousands of families. But that glory began to fade as industrial management changed and manual jobs declined. Today, Bogalusa shows the classic signs of a shrinking industrial town. Many worker housing areas that were once neat are now filled with abandoned homes left to decay in the weather. Its downtown, with massive concrete buildings, now looks too large for its current population, creating the impression of a place designed for crowds, but now occupied by silence. Although the mill still operates, its economic impact no longer flows through the city like it once did, leaving Bogalusa slowly losing its magic and moving closer to the edge of urban decline. Last is Opelousas. As one of the oldest towns in Louisiana and a rich center of Zydeco culture, Opelousas is now fighting deep stagnation. Its long history as a regional trade center in St. Landry Parish can no longer hold back modern economic pressure. Many local businesses that operated for generations have been forced to close, leaving blocks of storefronts in the downtown area completely empty. The situation is worsened by the high number of abandoned buildings that still have not been renovated. Although it still has a fairly large population compared with the other towns, the decline in commercial activity and the movement of residents to nearby satellite towns are very concerning. Historic buildings with peeling paint have become a sad daily sight for the residents who remain.